Hey guys, Neely here. I'm coming in for a video that I have wanted to do for a while, and I thought what better time than January when everyone's wanting to get into health and fitness and looking for a diet. I figured this would be a great time to share my top 5 diet books. And I say top 5, but it actually will turn out to be, I think, 8 or 9 maybe, because some of them I've lumped together. I just wanted to start off real quick by saying that of course I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I don't have any qualifications whatsoever. I just love to read, especially about diet and health and nutrition, and I've learned a lot over the last several years about my body and about what kinds of diets and things that I respond to well, and I just wanted to share that info with you. And also, of course, everybody's body is different, and what works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another, so this is all just sharing what has worked for me and what I've learned about myself, and you can take that info and apply whatever is applicable to you, and we can learn from each other. So I will go ahead and jump in. I'm not doing this in any specific order. My first one that I will be talking to you about is the Whole30, and the Whole30 does not just have one book. They do have the book called the Whole30, which is fantastic, but I recommend all of their books. You can see It Starts With Food and Food Freedom Forever and the Whole30. And if you had to just get one, I would recommend getting the It Starts With Food, because that goes into the details of why, the scientific reasons behind the Whole30, of why you would cut out certain foods and what they can possibly be doing in your body that could be causing you problems. And it just gives you all the reasons behind it. And when you know all the reasons behind something that's so strict, it makes it a whole lot easier to stick to. And it also has the details for doing a Whole30 in it, so it's kind of an all-in-one thing. The Whole30 book, it doesn't go into as much of the scientific stuff, but it has more information on the Whole30 with the FAQs and with recipes and stuff like that. So if you don't really need the science part of it, then go with the Whole30 book, and if you really want the recipes, go with the Whole30 book. And then there's also a Whole30 cookbook that you can add on to that as well, which I don't have. Those two are excellent for the Whole30, and then this one is kind of a companion or a sequel to the Whole30. This really talks about how to use the Whole30 and then how to move on in your regular life. This book really teaches you how to eat in moderation and how to learn what that means for you and for your body. And it is a great resource if you struggle with emotional eating or overeating or just being in a diet mentality, any kind of a binge and purge cycle, which doesn't necessarily have to be bulimia, but could be just really severe restricting and then going into an overeating period, which is very common with people that go on really strict diets. This book just gives you lots and lots of tools to work through that and kind of figure out what your body needs through doing a reset like the Whole30, and then kind of gives you the tools to live life afterwards without staying super strict on a Whole30, but also without going too far off the deep end the other way. The next book on my list is The Diet Cure by Julia Ross, and this book talks about amino acid supplementation, and this is an amazing book for anyone who feels like they can't go on a diet. Like if they go on a diet, they get overwhelmed with cravings and with hunger and they just can't stick to it. There can be some brain chemistry reasons behind that, and a lot of people just beat themselves up for not being able to have enough willpower to stay on whatever diet, but really it could be imbalanced chemicals in your brain, and some really simple and cheap amino acid supplementation can really help. So if you struggle with losing weight or staying on any type of plan or staying away from junk food, I highly recommend The Diet Cure, and just give it a try. The supplements that she recommends in here you can get at like any health food store, and they're super cheap, and I found them to be very effective when I went through the amino acid supplementation. I had to do it for a few months, and then after that I was good, and it has made a huge difference in my life, and now I am able to kind of eat the way I want to eat, and I don't feel like I'm controlled by food like I was before. Definitely any addictive patterns that I had before, they're completely gone at this point. And I think a lot of that has to do with the supplementation that I did in this book, as well as other things like working through emotional issues and body image issues and stuff like that. But the supplementation can really, really help. The next book on my list is The Adrenal Reset Diet, and this is not necessarily for everyone, although a lot of people these days seem to have adrenal problems and what would be considered adrenal fatigue. So I think this could be applicable to a lot of people, but Dr. Christensen is very knowledgeable about circadian rhythms and adrenal health, and he just has a lot of good insights for how to care for yourself. If you're someone that struggles with sleep, struggles with energy, following the plan in this book can really, really help. I implemented his diet strategy of carb timing throughout the day, and it did make a big difference when I was working through my adrenal fatigue, and I feel like I'm completely through that now, and this definitely gave me a lot of keys to figure out how to keep my adrenals healthy. So definitely check this out if you have any kind of adrenal issues, fatigue issues, sleep issues, circadian rhythm, anything involving your circadian rhythm. I highly recommend Dr. Alan Christensen's book. The next one, of course, for those of you that have followed me for a while, you know I can't go without mentioning Trim Healthy Mama. I know some of you guys who've never heard of that probably roll your eyes at the name. I completely understand. I rolled my eyes at the name when I first heard about it. I didn't even take it seriously for a while. And finally, when I did look into it and find out what the plan was all about and the ladies behind it, I realized my mistake because there is so much good information in this book. And then also there are so many good recipes. And really, no matter what diet you're on, this cookbook you could find recipes for, because the main premise of the Trim Healthy Mama plan is to separate your carbs and your fats into separate meals. So you never eat a large amount of carbs with a large amount of fat at the same time. You choose either a low carb, high fat meal or a high carb, low fat meal, and then you make sure you have 3 hours in between at least, and that helps your body to focus on the one fuel at a time so it can get through that and then get to burning your excess body fat if that's your goal. So if you're doing a low carb diet like a keto diet, there's lots of great keto, low carb type recipes that they offer in their cookbook, as well as if you're on any kind of a lower fat diet, they have a lot of great low fat recipes as well. They're also really amazing with baking for those two types of diets. So there are some amazing low carb, higher fat desserts, and they just do a really great job of making things taste delicious, but at the same time including lots and lots of different superfoods in all of their recipes. So it's not like a lot of low carb recipes where it's a ton of almond flour and a lot of nutritionally void ingredients. They mix in all kinds of nutrients into every one of their recipes. Lots of collagen, lots of vegetables, okra in the brownies, that kind of thing. And they all taste delicious too. The thing I love about Trim Healthy Mama is that they give you a framework to think about diet, and from there, you can really do a ton of customization to your own needs. There is not only one way to do the Trim Healthy Mama diet. There are a ton, and they embrace that and actually encourage that. And at the beginning of the book, they go through different types of women coming from different backgrounds and all applying the principles of Trim Healthy Mama to work in their unique situations. So ever since I have read Trim Healthy Mama and started the Trim Healthy Mama plan, I feel like I have stayed on that plan the whole time. Even though I've experimented with other plans, every one that I have done has fallen into the framework somehow of Trim Healthy Mama. And I feel like that Serene and Pearl, the authors of the book, they've just done a really great job of making a framework and a way of thinking about food. And I know that I will continue to use that, I'm sure, for the rest of my life. And within the umbrella of Trim Healthy Mama, I will continue to refine what works for me and how I can do the THM plan my way. One last thing I'll say about THM is that I really love the way that these ladies, even though they're not doctors or nutritionists or scientists, they're moms, they're homeschool moms like me, and they worked really hard to research all the current diets out there, and they kind of drew from all these different diets and created their own plan that works for them and works for lots and lots of other women. And when I first read the book, I felt very strong kinship towards them because I feel like that's what I do. And of course they are way farther down the path than I am. And they have taken all that and they've run with it and put together their empire. I mean, it really is a THM empire at this point. But I feel like when they started, they did just what I'm doing, which is reading all these diet books like I'm sharing with you and pulling out what works for them and throwing away the rest. And they have just packaged that up and shared it with the world. So I just love their heart in research and gathering information and putting it together and sharing it for everybody else. The last book in my top 5 that I wanted to talk about, of course, is the one that I have been talking about recently, which is the Lose Weight Here Diet by Jade Teta. And I have done several videos on this just recently, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about it. But this particular plan and the Metabolic Effect website, all the information they have on their blog, I recommend that for people who have already gotten started and they're at a point where they need help with maybe the last 15 or 20 pounds. My opinion is that if you're just getting started and you're moving from like a standard American diet with lots of sugar and things, that there are some easier steps that you can take first before you jump into something like this. Like you could do a Whole30 and get off the sugar. Also just jumping into THM if you're just getting started. Those are 2 great options for just getting your toes wet, but a lot of people will do either of those plans and they will get great results in the beginning, and then things kind of just start tapering off, and that happens with lots and lots of plans. That's just kind of how our bodies work. The THM and Whole30, they're excellent diets for getting you healthy, but getting healthy sometimes only gets you so far in the weight loss, and so you can do either of those plans and get your body super healthy, which is an amazing first step and definitely what I recommend doing first, and kind of seeing where your body gets as far as weight loss. And then once you get to the point of being healthy and you feel like you're in a good place, but you still have that last lingering 10 to 20 pounds or so, then I recommend jumping into stuff from Jade, using his different tips and ideas for getting your body exactly where you want it to be. And that's the journey that I'm on right now. I feel like I have done a lot of work in the last, especially year and a half, but even before that. But before that, I was pregnant and nursing and kind of had to take baby steps. But especially in the last year and a half since my last baby was born, I've really been working on the health aspect. I used the Adrenal Reset diet. I used THM. I did my Whole30, worked on what foods do well for me and which ones don't. And then now I'm at that final step where my body is super healthy. I feel really good. I have lots of energy. I just have some extra body fat that I'd like to get rid of. And a health promoting diet isn't necessarily a get down to your goal weight diet, if you know what I mean. And I definitely think Jade does a really good job of helping you get down to whatever goal you have, but at the same time keeping your body really healthy, because you can lose weight and get down to your goal weight and end up being less healthy than you were before you started. So I definitely recommend for those last 10 to 20 pounds using Jade's recommendations to get your body to where you want it to be. So those are my 5, or actually 8 diet books that I recommend. I'd love to hear if you guys have any experience with those. I know a lot of you that follow me do the THM as well as the Whole30, but I would love to hear your insight on any of the books that I have mentioned, and also if there is a book that has changed your life, that is the diet plan that you follow or that you have learned a ton from, definitely let me know down below as well. I'm always reading more, I'm always researching, and I would love to take a peek at what you guys are finding helpful. And also real quick, I wanted to let you know about the health and nutrition book that I'm the most excited about that's coming out here in a couple of weeks. It is called The Adrenal Thyroid Revolution by Dr. Aviva Romm. If you have never heard of Dr. Aviva Romm's work, I highly recommend her. I've mentioned her a few times before in the past, and she is just a wealth of information, especially for women's health and for children's health. She's a trained medical doctor as well as an herbalist and a midwife, so she has experience in a whole bunch of different different realms, and I just find what she has to say very, very valuable. She has a podcast, she has a blog, she has lots of books, but this new one that's coming out, The Adrenal Thyroid Revolution, just looks like it's going to be absolutely amazing, and I think it will help a ton of people. I have already pre-ordered my copy, and it will be coming, I think it's coming out on January 31st, so just in a couple of weeks here, and I cannot wait to dive into that. I did want to let you know that she is doing a 10-day reset, adrenal reset. It's kind of like just a 10-day get your feet wet reset for anyone that pre-orders the book. Although you do have to pre-order the book by, I believe, tomorrow and get in tomorrow. So I know a lot of people don't watch my videos the day I post them, so I apologize. It may be already too late, but I did want to let you know. So if you guys are watching this on January 15th, that if you pre-order the book and then you go to the webpage, I'll put it down below, you can enter in your receipt number, and you will be able to get an invitation to get into a private Facebook group, and she's going to be doing some Facebook Lives and giving all the details of doing this 10-day reset together. And I am in the group already, and so I'm going to be participating in that. It starts, I think it starts on the 20th, but I could be wrong. So if you are interested in that at all, I will put down the link to the book as well as to the website to enter the receipt number for getting into the reset. There's also a bunch of other like little gifty things that she's giving for anyone who pre-orders the book and signs up on the website. So that is it for my top 5 nutrition and health books. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will put links down to all of these books down below, as well as any videos that I have done on, like, that will give more detail on any of these specific diets. I'll put those up in the cards. I hope you guys are all doing great. Happy New Year. I hope that if you are embarking on a health or nutrition journey, that it goes wonderfully for you, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye, guys.